Hi everyone, welcome to Farsight News, the news show where we tell you what is going to happen, not what did happen. I am Courtney Brown, director of the Farsight Institute. Now here we utilize the talents of highly trained remote viewers to describe one or more future events that will happen in a given month. Now let me explain what it means to predict a future event. Remote viewing is possible because of a generalization of quantum mechanics. Everything in the quantum realm of atoms and molecules is probabilistic. That means that we can predict the probability of something happening, not the exact thing itself. Well, we are all made up of quantum things, so the same rules must apply to us as well. The science is complicated and we don't need to go into detail here, but it is important that I explain that because of this generalization of quantum mechanics, we live in a universe of multiple timelines. There is no single timeline for the present, past, and future. So, when someone uses remote viewing to predict the future, the person is perceiving one timeline out of a multiplicity of timelines. Now, very often a good remote viewer will get it exactly right, but other times there will be significant differences between the remote viewing perceptions and what one experiences in real life. Even if the remote viewing was done perfectly, this can happen in the context of multiple timelines. So how can we use this to our advantage in predicting the future? Easy. Here's how we do it. If we want to know what the future is going to be like, we need a sample of perceptions of that future so that we can look at a collection of future timelines. From that sample, we can get a general idea of what the future will hold for us. Sometimes we will experience exactly what the remote viewing perception said we will experience, but other times there will be differences. But on average, the general nature of the remote viewing perceptions for the sample will closely follow what we actually experience. So in a sense, we are taking a statistical survey of the future and using that to determine the general nature of the future that we are marching into. Cool, right? Well, to give us greater leverage in tracking our future selves, we use something called an overview target in this project. So the perceived events must be related directly or indirectly to the overview target. This is different than saying that a perceived event can be anything that may happen in a given month. The viewers are not told what the overview target is prior to doing their work. The goal of using an overview target approach is to get a survey of important events that help us understand the overview target in terms of the events that relate to it. Also, the perceived events do not have to be reported as major events in the major media. What we are trying to do is to understand the overview target, not to predict what the major media will report as important. We often find that the major media follow their own guidance in reporting events, usually sensationalizing everything to an extreme, such that little deep understanding of the events is achieved. What we want to do is to understand the nature of the overview target. So, for this month, the overview target is an event that is directly or indirectly related to the current coronavirus pandemic that is happening worldwide right now. So, the events that our remote viewers should perceive give us a backstory as to what is happening in a significant way with respect to the current pandemic. 5 remote viewers participated in this project: Aziz Brown, PrinCess Jeaneé, Melina Hall, Trudy Benjamin, and Kamaya Dunson. So we have 5 reports of 5 events, all of which are related in some way to the current health pandemic. Because of the partial lockdown that we are experiencing locally, we had to change the way we normally present our results. If you follow our activities, you know that our remote viewers first do their remote viewing sessions on paper, and then they continue their sessions on video, which is what we normally show everyone. But because of the crisis, we were able to conduct a normal video recording with only one of the reports, the one done by Melina Hall. All of the remote viewers completed their sessions on paper, however, and we were able to obtain a recording of the remote viewers discussing their session results. So for this edition of Farsight News, I'm going to explain what each remote viewer perceived, show you some of their sketches, and then let them add something to this explanation as we go along. But since Melina Hall was able to record her session normally, you will see that yourself in the traditional way that we do things. So let's begin, starting with the remote viewing session by Aziz Brown. Aziz perceives an urban area with tall buildings. He described what looks like a civil disturbance, something like a protest or riot. There are riot police or National Guard type people around, and they seem to be trying to control and sometimes arrest the protesters. The urban area is apparently near the coast since a large ship is involved in the response. There is also a non-surface structure that looks a lot like a fighter jet flying over the event. And when shifting his attention to the center of the target, Aziz perceives a central subject who is not near the disturbance. The subject has the flavor of a leader, perhaps a national leader. This made Aziz think of the White House as a comparison. Now we call this a deduction, where the conscious mind makes a conclusion that may or may not be correct, but some aspect of the conclusion is probably correct. So this probably means that a national leader of some kind is involved in following the event and the police response. When Aziz moves to the original cause of the target event, he perceives what looks like scientists wearing protective gear. Apparently there is an explosive event, possibly an accident, that disrupts the activities of the scientists.
We got page 19 over here. Move to the original cause of the target event and describe. And if I move to the original cause of the target event, I see a covered subject. This subject's got a face mask, a head mask. I mean, he's got his whole head sort of covered up. And I don't even know, maybe he's got goggles or glasses on or something like that. But he's got his whole head just covered like this, like, almost like a doctor would or something, like a scientist or something like that. But anyway, it's cloth. It's not like this hard, like helmet-like material that I was feeling with the other subjects. But he's tinkering with something. He's got like stuff in his hands, and he's tinkering with an object and on a table. I mean, it seems like that's basically what's going on. And
now, this is the origin or the original cause of the target event, the original cause.
The original cause.
And you're deducting a virologist, bomb maker, doctor, scientist.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I put those out of my mind, because when we do have the coronavirus thing going on, I don't want to let my own head go in that direction.
Yeah, but that's what you're seeing and you're perceiving. So those are wrong, but there's something in that's correct, which is a tech person somehow involved in the original cause of the event.
Yeah, this some guy doing something in the realm of science, something mechanical, something scientific, and this is the original cause of the target event.
Moving on to the session by Princess Jeaneé, she perceives an urban area that has large stone structures, at least one of which has a dome-shaped roof with columns in front. There is some kind of event that involves a primary speaker, plus lots of cameras of the point-and-shoot variety, as well as what appear to be news cameras. Both men and women are in the audience. The spoken languages involve some English, but also either another language like French or perhaps English with a strong accent. The interior of the main structure reminded her of a stage or auditorium, a place where a presentation could be made. Now, some of the people in the room are wearing police or military uniforms. When she moves to the target activity, she sees what looks like an angry mob, people who are shouting and creating a commotion. There are lots of reporters present. There is a podium and chairs in the room. The entire event feels like a governmental type of event, like an election event or governmental conference event. When she did a collective deep mind probe of the subjects at the event, she perceived thoughts and emotions of frustration, lying, business, anger, cheating, not right, not fair, stupid. In general, people at the event are very upset. It definitely feels like a political event, and whatever the leadership is doing, it has a negative vibe to it.
As I walked around to get a better look at everything, I see a lot of subjects, chairs, desks, stage, blue, red, white, podium type of thing. And I deducted election, I deducted conference with government. And I deducted, what was my other deduction earlier? Not election, but press conference. So it had those feelings. I'm looking at my deductions here. Movement, firm, aggression, aggressiveness, as I did a collective deep mind probe, there's frustration, there's lying, there's some business, like a it's just business feel or a business mindset of things. Anger, there's some happiness, mad. Some, like I said earlier, some are just not with it. Whatever is going on here, people are over it completely. They're just, huh?
Yeah, no, I hear. You have written here. You have written here something about cheating and not right.
Not, yeah, that there's like probable cheating. You know, I didn't want to say that, but that's the energy, and those are the things that I felt in their minds. Um, Something's not fair. I hear people are like, this is stupid. People are visibly and energetically and mentally upset. I feel that this is economic. I feel that this is connected to some sort of political event.
Now, moving on to the session by Kamaya Dunson, she perceives an urban area that has a large dome-like structure that looks a lot like a Capitol building. She also perceives a tall, pointy structure that looks a lot like the Washington Monument. There are also other tall structures with flat tops nearby that resemble normal city-type office buildings. When she moves to the target activity, she perceives a group of subjects inside a large structure, the dome structure. There is a heated discussion going on inside the structure. There are also lots of subjects outside the structure, but the discussions inside the structure seem more intense than those going on outside. Kamaya says that the target event makes her feel like there is evil in the meeting. On one hand, it is normal business, but on the other hand, the event is being highly orchestrated. There is a sense that the subjects are trying to protect themselves. The leadership does not feel malicious. What is going on is not inherently dangerous, but what is being planned or discussed could turn out dangerous. They are preparing for something. Preparation is the key element. The overall sense is protection, not aggression, so it is not like they are planning on attacking an enemy. Most of the subjects are male, but there are some females. Now, very interestingly, at this point in her session, Kamaya perceives that someone is watching her. The subject was simply observing her, not interfering with her in any way. The subject also feels like he or she is orchestrating a lot of what is going on in the meeting, without the other subjects in the meeting knowing about it. Kamaya states that this subject does not feel like any other human who she has remote viewed, making her think that the subject may be an alien. When moving to the primary target subject with regard to this event, she perceives a male with broad shoulders, short neck, and a big head, wearing medium-thick clothing. The subject is feeling both fear and anger, and the subject is feeling overwhelmed. The subject is also sick with a cough and a sore throat. He has pale skin with pink undertones. The subject has some body pain and is clearly sick in some way. Moving to the original cause of the target event, Kamaya perceives a group of mostly male subjects who are angry, outraged. They are blaming other people for something. People are pointing and yelling, shouting. An argument breaks out. There is disgust and outrage. Someone is deeply offended. Now, moving to the initial moment of the target event, there is the sense of subjects inside of a structure. There's a lot of anger and aggression. It is like someone has been waiting for this moment to happen. It seems like a fight breaks out and people find it hard to comprehend what is happening. There is loss as well. Some people are hurt both emotionally and physically. Human error is involved, negligence. In some way, shape, or form, the military is involved in some way.
See, it feels like, since a large group of people here, everything feels kind of like creepy and rushed. Like I'm in like a war movie, and they're getting ready to attack or like preparing for the worst. It definitely feels like protection and not aggression. And there are subjects here that feel mostly male again. There's like this weird feeling that I have that like someone's like watching me or like watching everything go down, like possibly orchestrating it. but it feels just like pure observation. Like they don't really do anything; they just watch.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're feeling somebody watching you, watching these people.
Yeah.
Can you touch that for a second and see what that person is that subject in the location physically or someplace else?
The subject feels like it's not really like there, but like very close, you know? Like maybe not in the room, but like right outside that room, somewhere very close to the conversation.
But the subject can perceive you, is that right?
Yeah. I like when I probe this subject, I start to feel a little uncomfortable.
I see. Is it a human subject or an alien subject or?
I will say that it's probably an alien subject because if it's a human subject, I've never felt a human like this before.
Yeah, okay, I get the idea. Now moving on to the remote viewing session done by Trudy Benjamin. Trudy perceives what appears to be a non-surface structure that descends towards Earth. The object is not a natural object like a meteor, rather it is artificial, large and heavy. There is more than one non-surface structure involved eventually, and there is a subject in one of the non-surface structures. And Trudy is sensing that this is happening in space. At least one of the non-surface structures is following a spiral movement downward, possibly over water or landing on water. There's lots of energetics associated with the descent. And finally, Trudy perceives that there is a death associated with this event. The subject who dies appears to be male.
Moving to the target event, I sense that there's a large pointed non-surface structure. This non-surface structure is black and gray and has dark brown tints to it. The movement of this non-surface structure is downward into water, extensive water near land, and the air is very dry and cold. The target event is movement of a non-surface structure downward fast. There's loud rumble sounds and splashing. There's smoke and fire, cloud dynamics. There's a subject on structures around, and there's a rounded circular something. Something's rounded or circular or moving in a circular motion. Subject is drained and exhausted and sleepy and alone inside of a non-surface structure. The environment is modern. The subject is male. The younger male he's tall and really big, and inside of this non-surface structure.
So is this the same subject that died, or is this a different subject?
This is the same subject.
Same subject before he dies.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Finally, Melina's session focuses on a confrontation of some sort that involves military equipment. Here she is presenting her data.
I'm getting extensive land. Flat land, a very sandy texture, tan color. The ground is hard in some areas and soft. It's just sand, dirt, and hard ground. A very dry surface. I'm picking up water, but it's in the distance, not near this area. This area, again, is dry, sandy. I feel energy, a crowd of subjects here. So I picked up a crowd of subjects. There's this main subject here on this podium. And there's an outside area, but it's have a man-made built structure. It's like a outdoor space where people stand on like a platform near this area. And like short bases, like structures, just small, not too big of a structure, just tents and little storage shaped structure around this area. Again, these subjects here, subjects are in like a bulky uniform. So I'm getting a subject, tall, strong built subject in this dark clothing uniform. And it's a crowd of them, it's a crowd of subjects, very loud, very high, very happy. This main subject here, he's in front of everybody. He's like in front of this flat platform. He seems to be a cool leader, a very uplifting guy, a coach almost. Back to the area. I'm hearing crack, boom noises, a lot of sound, just a loud energy, just noises just coming from this area. Like a sound of a gun just going off, just pop, pop, like crack sounds. It feels like a military celebration or somewhat riot in the middle of a desert. I'm seeing a non-surface structure above. A lot of boom sounds in the sky, just like just like a fireworks sound, but not necessarily fireworks. But I'm hearing those sounds coming from above. There's a city nearby, but majority of this natural land it seems like there's nothing nearby because it's like a desert here. In the area, it's like almost nighttime. Like you can still see, but not too, you can't really see too far, but it's definitely kind of dark here. Like the sun just set here. Still hearing noises coming from above. There's like non-surface structures and objects above the ground just going past. And in this crowd is mostly male subjects, going towards the leader, focusing on him. So this leader is talking to the crowd. He's a very blunt speaker, has a good attitude. He's very brave. He's cautious and is not afraid. He is very valued by the crowd. He is not in shape, but he is in charge. And these subjects are dressed for war. So there is a rally just going on. By the way, it's burning smells, a lot of like smoke. It's so hot, a lot of heat wave, but it's dark, so it's kind of cool as well. But just from the energy above, from the objects and things going around, it's pretty warm here. So here's the crowd again. I'm getting a lot of shaking with the crowd, a lot of movement and commotion, activity coming from above. There's this light that bursting of red, pinkish color. It's like an explosion just out of nowhere from an object that's been flying across the air. And here's this dark metallic object. Seems like that object is their craft, but there's other non-surface structures that's going past. Feel like a terrorist attack almost, but couldn't say. These objects looks unfamiliar. And there's one object that's soaring downward. Seems like it's landing. All the subjects are running away from this area. The whole rally and celebration just stopped. It seems like war just began out of nowhere. Yeah, I'm getting bursts of flames and just pinks and reds just burst out of nowhere. It's like a loud crash sound, like two big pops clashing into each other. It's an unbelievable loud sound. And subjects are just in a panic running from this dangerous area. Just a lot of activity, a lot of boom sounds and a whistle sound like it's so much going on, so many colors. It's like July 4th.
Okay, so let's draw some conclusions from these data. These data suggest two things. The first is that the planetary lockdown due to the coronavirus pandemic will result in lots of activity. It is not just a situation in which everyone is staying inside and everything is quiet outside. There are apparently protests, some violent protests. It seems as though the protests are in more than one area. For example, Melina seems to perceive more of a dry desert environment, whereas Aziz seems to focus on more of a standard urban area. The sessions by Princess and Kamaya seem very similar. Political meetings in a dome-type structure that are heated to the extreme. People are upset, and they are blaming one another. There's also a focus on protection as a concept. Now finally, Trudy seems to perceive some elements that involve a non-surface structure and a death. I'm not sure how to interpret Trudy's data, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens during the month. Now the second thing that these data suggest is that the coronavirus pandemic will get worse in April, not better. None of these sessions suggest that there is any resolution to the current situation. The hope that these things might return to normal by Easter seems to be a fantasy. Things are going to get worse and people are going to take action while leaders try to calm an increasingly volatile situation. The perception by Kamaya that there may be an alien involvement with respect to the current political elements related to the pandemic is particularly interesting. Other work at Farsight suggests that some extraterrestrials seem quite helpful to humanity, while others try to control humanity by sowing discord, thereby slowing down humanity's emancipation from this planet. It is unclear from Kamaya's data which type of extraterrestrial is involved in these upcoming political events, whether the ET is helping to calm things down or stir things up. But it is interesting that ET involvement in one way or another seems to be a central element to many large-scale human activities. Now, these are perceptions that are future forecasts for the month of April. Again, because of multiple timelines, there is no guarantee that any one event that is perceived by these remote viewers will definitely come to pass in our timeline exactly as it is described. The events and timelines are probabilistic. However, we can use these 5 remote viewing sessions in the manner of a sample of 5 timelines, and we can essentially look for a mean or an average with respect to their characteristics to see what the near-term future will hold for us in general terms. So, thinking in those terms, the forecast for April is tumult, protests, heated political discussions, and little or no resolution to the current pandemic. So that is the forecast. Obviously, things will eventually get better, but April 2020 appears to be quite stressed. In the short term, it is wise for everyone to hunker down and simply get through it. Taking the advice of social distancing and staying inside is probably a good idea, both in terms of staying healthy as well as avoiding the potential conflicts that may occur. So that is it for our April 2020 edition of Farsight News, the news before it happens. Thank you so much for watching. Please also join us next month in May 2020 for another look into the future for May. I am Courtney Brown, Director of the Farsight Institute.